Hi everyone, it's James here from Pro Tools Expert, and once again from our pre-Christmas jaunt, Rich has joined me from Create Pro.
Ho, ho, ho.
Very good, very festive.
Well, I've grown the beard for the Father Christmas off that I'll be having after this.
So, I promise we haven't been drinking because, quite frankly, it's way too early, even for Christmas time. So, we are going to do the next stage of Pimp My Mac.
Pimp my Mac, yes.
So, we've done processors.
Yep.
We've done RAM.
Yep.
We've done hard drives, and we've souped up the OS. And I'd love to say I've actually finished that part of the project yet, but I haven't. So, what's next?
Next, we have this.
What, pray tell, is that?
So this is a PCIe flash card. In English, it's instead of having an SSD,
Right.
Going into one of your normal drive bays, or obviously a hard drive, this goes into one of the PCIe slots.
Right.
This little monster though has a flash module on it, which is 512 gig.
Right.
But this one's got 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4.
So even in basic drummer maths, that's 2 terabytes of flash storage.
Now, the monstrous thing about this card, though, flash storage, if for the uninitiated, can run at about 1,000 megabytes a second. Your normal hard drive's about 130 megasecond.
Okay, that's a step up.
So a flash module was already 8 times faster. This has got 4, which we're going to raid into what's called a striped raid. So they're all running together. The data is split across all 4. It will give you 5,600 megabytes a second. So
that's pretty damn quick.
So if an SSD is 500 megabytes a second, yeah, and everyone goes, that's off a shovel kind of speed.
Yeah.
This does 5,600 megabytes a second. So 5,600 megabytes a second, you could edit 6K natively on the timeline in Final Cut, or in the audio world, for those, Hans Zimmer fanatics out there, John Williams boys, you can quite literally we're going to load it up basically with East West fabulous libraries, and we're going to annihilate it.
Yeah. So what we've done, it being a fairly prolific movie release week.
What's that?
Star something. Star Trek?
Stars in their eyes.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I have got a score of a bit of a Star Wars movie. You're not going to hear very much of it because, quite frankly, we really couldn't afford the legal fees. But the guys at East West, so I said to them, how many do you reckon we'll get off a normal? How long will this take? So what we're going to do is we are going to load the score, and it's a fully prepared score, and you'll see how many instruments we've got going into it. It's a full orchestral score, percussion, strings, woodwind, brass, the whole shebang. And we're going to use East West Play Engine and their Hollywood libraries, and pretty much all of their libraries for the entire score. And we'll time it. We'll time it off the normal 7200 RPM Western Digital drive that's is my sample drive. And then we're going to swap it for that baby, and we'll see how fast the samples load.
Yeah.
Now, it's purely a speed test. It's not going to affect the quality. It's not April. It's not going to change the audio performance, I don't believe.
We'll see. We'll see how big this score is, basically. I think what we find is a lot of the time we'll have guys that will call into Create Pro and they're like, I'm a classical composer with no orchestra. The orchestra is my East West library, is one of the various other ones. Now, when I load my template, this seems to be the big thing. It's their templates, right. And they say their templates. The biggest one that we've seen so far is 30 gig. The guy's template was 30 gig. So obviously they load it all up on the Mac. It's there on the screen. They've got Sibelius running or what.
They may not be actually using everything in the template.
No, but they want it there like an orchestra.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is my orchestra. Here's my crew. And that seems to be the initial falling over point. And it's like, I'll turn that on, go and have breakfast, and then come back, and maybe it might be halfway loaded. So if we can eradicate that, which I think we can, then that's a massive time saver for users. But secondly, when you talk about the audio performance, well, what happens when the I/O starts getting saturated and the bus is too busy? We start getting the pops and the clicks, buffer.
Well, and Pro Tools says, terribly sorry.
Exactly. And if it's enough, it will crash. It will kernel panic the app. So if we can eradicate that, that's more time saving. But it just means you might be able to get more done. Maybe you won't have to do so many bounces. I don't know. Let's see how much we can stress it. This is brand new tech. We've literally had it for about 2 weeks now. We've had some of our movie guys use it, and they're just like jaw on the floor. And the good thing about it, I will just also point out, with the card that we're using, the PCIe card, these are all user replaceable modules. So hopefully, in this case, these are Samsung modules. I'm hoping that they're going to bring out 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte. So we can take those off, and then we could put 4 1 terabytes. Then you got 4 terabytes.
So you don't have to have it as a full 2 terabyte.
You don't have to, but you're never going to get that speed. Basically, by raiding them all together, it uses the X16 slot, which in English, above the graphics card, there's two 16 lane slots. One's using the graphics card, the other one you typically put, your sound card, UAD card, whatever in there. So this has got to go in the X16 slot. So you will not get this performance if you put it in slot 3 or 4 of your Mac Pro. It's got to be in effectively slot 2. Once you do that, we then create the RAID. It then gives you that speed. So if you only had 2 modules and you could buy it from us with just 2 modules, then you can only RAID 2 and hence only get 2 sets of that speed.
Right.
So it'd still be killer. It'd still be like 2,000 megasecond. But if you want this all singing and all dancing speed performance, you need all 4 running on it.
Now, it's safe to say, with a lot of the stuff that you guys have put in that machine, it stayed.
Yes.
Sadly, that's not, because it's not cheap, is it, at the moment?
It's not cheap at the moment. We're retailing it out at $14.95. But maybe to put this into perspective, and you can do this at home. You can do some googling on kind of like 2 terabyte SSDs. You'll realize that the 2 terabyte SSD, there's only one manufacturer I think Samsung make them at the moment, and that's about $1,000. But that's still only 500 megabytes a second. Yeah. Now, the next comparable thing that big post houses that just kind of had infinite budget were buying were like 3.2 terabyte flashes. I think they were about 25 grand. Yeah. So they were mental. This was only about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Before this came out. This came out and it kind of just came out of nowhere, basically. And I didn't believe it. I said it's impossible to get that speed. And it's impossible to get that speed in effectively a 5-year-old computer. Nope. So once again, the Mac Pro lives another day to annihilate all other Macs.
Awesome stuff. So first thing we're going to do is we'll go over to the Mac Pro and I'll show you the test system. I'll show you all the libraries are so you know we're not faking it. We'll load the score up. We'll time it. And then we'll whip the thing apart. Well, you'll see that. Rich is going to put the card in the slot and do all the jiggery pokery. Then we'll reload the score. So over to the Mac Pro. So this is the session. This is the file, and this is it here. 2T flash storage test, and it is a absolute shed load of East-West Play and East-West libraries. Now, this is the East-West Installation Center, and I can just show you here that we're not faking it. If I go to my library path, you can see here that it goes to volumes, samples 3T, East-West Play Library. That's the one I've got ready, and all the samples are in this here drive, in this here folder, and there they are. And you can see that at the moment, if I do a quick get info, they are 557 and a bit gig.
Very nice.
Which is not going to stress out that card at all.
Nope.
And all we're going to do is we'll move those libraries over to the card.
Yep.
But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to load up that session. So, Rich, if you would, let's just whack that there. If you would hit start, so we'll 3, 2, 1, go. We're off. So it's going to go away and do its thing. We also will probably go and have a cup of tea because this may take some time. 8 minutes and 12 seconds to load this lot. And just again, so I can prove we're not faking it, here is my Woodwind Play engine. And I'm using all the key switch samples, so I'm using the biggest libraries we possibly can. So there's flutes, oboes, clarinets, contrabassoons. I love the fact there's a contrabassoon.
Love a contrabassoon.
Then we've got in the brass, we're using all the key switches again, trumpets, trombones, solo tuba. Again, I love the fact that there is a tuba.
It's up there in my top 5.
Percussion. We're using, because obviously piano technically, I know harp isn't, but timps. I'm using the 19-inch Sabian crash cymbals for the clash cymbals. Harp sounds so good. I'm using the Steinway from Quantum Elite pianos. Again, sounds amazing. Voices of Passion for all the voices. And again, I think I'm using the Hollywood strings for all the strings.
My favourite.
Now, are we brave enough to play this?
Maybe just not too loud.
I might have to bring the volume down because that way, hopefully, any of the bots that are running around the internet won't recognise it and we won't get done.
Yeah.
So let's go over to the score. Let's find a midpoint somewhere because I know now I haven't tweaked these samples or anything.
Yeah.
These are just straight out the box. I haven't done any key switching on them. I'm just using the biggest samples I possibly could. Not the greatest noise I've ever heard. But if we go to Activity Monitor, we can see here that the Play Memory server is using
3.7 gig.
I'm guessing that's quite a bit in the world of samples.
Yeah. That's a fair bit in there. Yeah. This is definitely, I suppose, what you would class as a normal load session. You know, I think there's a lot going on in there, and it may not sound too hot.
So, system usage-wise, we've got 48 gig of RAM in this machine, and it thinks we're using about 30%.
Yeah.
Which is
okay. Yeah,
I'm going to go with.
I think it's a fair test. You know, this is about a real world test, isn't it? You know, we could just load in 200 of something like kind of what we did with the boom tests and whatnot before. But this is kind of, you know, I suppose it's kind of selling the idea of what you're going to get out of this in a typical everyday kind of.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a small session by any stretch.
No, not at all. It's a bit of tweaking.
Needs a bit of work, but the samples are loaded. We like that.
Yep.
So, having spent best part of however long it was,
8 minutes. 8 minutes, 12 seconds, I believe.
8 minutes, 12 seconds. We're now going to shut everything down.
Yep.
And put the Card of Doom in.
The beast.
So I'm going to save that just because I should. I'm going to quit Pro Tools. And we'll be back with you when we're installing the card in the machine. So we're in the Mac Pro. Rich, do your thing.
Okay. So as we can see, all of your slots are occupied.
Nothing like having a well-occupied slot.
Now, let's just undo that. But no, it's okay. I've got it. In all seriousness, though, we've got your USB 3.0 card in the X16 slot. So if the camera can kind of see in there, graphics card is in the first slot. Second slot is the next X16 slot. Your USB card's in there, and then these are both times 4 slots. And you've got your your HDX and your UAD card in there. So
out comes the USB card.
Yes. Sorry, just bear with me. It's a bit hot. Yeah, just be careful, by the way, if your machine's been on for like 2 days. It might be a little bit hot in there. So, yeah, that can come out for the memento.
Lovely.
If you could do me the...
Let me pass you the...
Yeah, great.
The gubbins.
Yep. So, something we get asked a lot is people are like, look, when I cram all this stuff into the Mac Pro, It's like, is it all okay? It all gets a bit hot. It's all a bit crowded in there. Well, the answer is yes, it is. Apple did kind of design. The great thing about obviously a workstation computer is that it's designed for this. It's designed for full load. So don't worry. This is kind of all good. If it's a bit tricky to get it in, then by all means take out some of the cards. But seeing as I've done a few of these, I think we're all right. So there you go. That's in. Make sure you get your retaining bracket back on. You don't have to use a screwdriver. These are just thumb screws. So they're spring loaded. Once you've tightened them up, they are good to go. Okay. So all good. So that's it. That's all we need to do. Get the side back on and time
And
to
whop it
power it
all
up.
back together. So what we now have to do is tell the Play Engine, which is why we've come into this extra session, that we want to redirect it to all the sample libraries.
Yes.
Now, it's a bit of a
Pain.
as we've discovered just now. But what you do is you go to the browser and you find your first library, and we'll start with brass gold, and we hit Control, and then we go Set Product Library. And what we have to do is go in to the product library. So we know it is in Create Pro RAID, East West, Brass, Gold. Select the instruments folder, hit Open, and now it's redirected it to the new instruments folder that's on the RAID.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do this, and you can watch it go in real time, or I'll speed it up. And then hopefully we'll start loading up the sample library and you can see the difference in time. But I get good feelings about this.
So do I.
We're ready to start loading up this here session with the redirected samples that are now on the flash drive. 3, 2, 1, go. And stop. 2 minutes, 57 seconds. Impressive.
That is pretty impressive. And obviously it will sound so much better now as well.
Well, I think there's actually some truth to that, because when we played back before, there was a lot of notes were being cut short.
It did sound that way, yeah.
It did sound a bit spluttery, whereas now...
Yeah. It almost sounded a bit gated before.
Yeah, it sounded cut off. It sounded a bit like they hadn't all loaded up fully and properly until another minute or two in. Whereas that's all there. You know, everything we want is there. We haven't faked it. I promise. Everything is. They're all there.
I mean, effectively, I suppose that's it's not far off taking 2/3 off of the loading time. Whether that's going to change your world every morning when you open your template, I don't know. But, I suppose maybe another test that we can do at another point, or maybe even a composer wants to chime in and say, how's about try this template? Maybe that's a good idea.
Maybe try different samples, different sample libraries.
Exactly.
That's a cup of tea. That's breakfast.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's a significant step in the right direction. Yes. It's quite a bit of cash.
Yeah.
But that price is only going to come down over time, and it won't be much time. We know the Moore's Law and technology prices, things like that.
And it's a modular system. So as I said, Samsung or whoever else brings out that form factor module, which I'm sure there will be other companies about to bring them out, they will only make bigger modules. It's not as if they're going to get stuck at 512. So, we could be looking at within a year's time, maybe that could then be 8 terabytes on one PCIe slot running at 5,600 megabytes a second. Well, 2 terabytes is amazing at the moment. So, I'd say that's a pretty cool upgrade.
So the proof of the pudding is in the timing.
Is in the Christmas pudding.
Yes. pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I would be, I'd say, it's a cup of tea versus breakfast, I think.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
it's your pause in the morning or whatever. We've tried it with East West. Obviously, different sample libraries may load up faster, slower.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah.
But it's fair to say it's definitely an improvement.
Yep.
But it's also fair to say it's a fairly costly investment at the moment, as we've sort of mentioned.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it is, but it's, you know, as I said, it's a modular system. It's something you're buying into. At the end of the day, you can't, you know, I know I always hark back to this, but you can't put that into the new, you know, trash can.
But also, you don't have to spend that sort of dough.
You haven't got to.
Halfway through doing this, the postman knocked on the door with its baby brother.
Yes. So this is just a single module card. We've been doing it for a while now, probably about the last 3 months. But this kind of firms the family up, if you like, now. So this is just a 512 single module, takes 1 PCIe slot. It can be in any of the slots, so this one. So it can be in the slot 2, 3, or 4. And it will give you about 1,000 megasecond. So still pretty damn good. Still double the speed of an SSD. Basically, at the moment there is, as I said, only 512 modules. That will change, you know. So as soon as the 1 gig, the 1 terabyte module is out, then we'll put one of those on it. Hopefully 2 terabyte, so on and so forth. These make really good boot drives. You know, the whole system will just feel a bit more snappier. And money wise, these are £300. So £300. Versus, you know, a 500 gig SSD, which is about 200, 250. But this is over double the speed. So, you know, a lot less costly than going for the daddy.
And between you, me, and the fence, I'm now about to kick Rich out and hope that he takes that card with him and leaves that one behind.
So I didn't hear anything you just said.
Awesome. So other things in the world of Create Pro, I think, obviously, a lot of our readership, a lot of our viewers are stateside.
Yep.
And things are all good on that front as well, aren't they?
Yeah, so basically every time we do one of these videos, thank you for watching them. You know, it's great to get the feedback, and literally our phones just start ringing off the hook like the next morning after you post them. But usually about half of them are from our US neighbours, always asking why can't we check out on the website. That's resolved now. We've got worldwide shipping on the website, so we can ship out to not just the US, you know, anywhere around the world. We've had people from everywhere, which is amazing. You know, the pickup on it's amazing. It obviously shows that we're not the only ones fanatical about the Mac Pro 5.1. So yeah, you know, www.create.pro.
Bit of a plug there. Rich, thanks ever so much once again. Happy Christmas and all that.
Yeah.
Happy Christmas to you out there, and we'll see you again soon for some more Gear Talk.